welcome you all at this webinar. Today's topic is psychological tests in recruitment and team analysis. And we will have 3 presenters from Latvia and Lithuania who will be sharing their experience when working with tests in recruitment and also team analysis. So these 3 people will be Sandra Zelča from Jeld-Wen, Latvia, then Kaspars Kotāns from CV Online Latvia, and Rimgailė Butkuvienė from People Link Lithuania. Also, I will talk to you a bit today just to give you some background and introduction to the topic so that it would be easier to follow the practical examples. First of all, welcome to you all. I'm very happy to have you here, and I would be very happy to also have you actively participating, which means that whenever you have a question, then please use this Q&A button and put your question there. After each panelist presentation, my colleague Katrin will read out these questions and they will get answers. Also, you can use the chat for whatever discussion you want to use. That's a bit more informal channel today. And also we will ask your feedback or what would be the main points that you learn from each presentation also as a feedback for the presenters. And you can change the view on your screen. You will on the upper right corner, you can choose either you have the gallery view or the speaker's view. Then at some moment, maybe we have all speakers also on the screen. Today, unfortunately, we can't see your faces and hear your voices, but I hope that this Q&A and chat will be also great channels for communication. And actually, for the very beginning, I'd really like to know, now let's use this raise hand button. How many of you are from Estonia? Let's raise hands, please. So we have 11. Great, so thank you. How many we have from Latvia? Now let's raise hand, please. 3, 2, 1. Oh, at least 1. Okay, so among the presenters we have people from Latvia. And how many we have from Lithuania? Please raise hands. Okay, 5. Great, and I think there will be some more joining in because we had more people registered. Now I would like to ask one more question. How many of you are active in the HR field as a HR professional? So please raise your hand. Okay, 8 is the number, so the others are not exactly HR professionals. How many of you are managers? 4. Okay, great. And the others, I probably also have some touch with the field, so I hope that each of you will gain something interesting from today's webinar. Okay, now let's go on with the introduction. So I will, for the introduction, talk a bit about why to use psychological tests and what is the evidence about the test validity. That's there are some people who strongly believe into the test and the others that do not believe, but actually it's not a question of belief, but of facts. And I'd like to share with you some criteria and facts which you should know in order to make a choice about a test. And I will shortly introduce the triplet tests. Then we will have the presentations, and in the end, I'll say a few words about the options for using triplet tests in your work as well. We will record this webinar, so you can also watch it later. And if you want, you can also have the presentations later for yourself. And the third thing that we promised is that we will also send you a link where you can take a personality test and receive your own report. Now, a few words about Tripod. It was founded 25 years ago by University of Tartu psychology professors, and the initial goal of Tripod was to develop and offer original psychometric tests. But nowadays we have many more services, and the word Tripod comes from Greek. It's a certain object with 3 legs, but it was a very important object also for the oracle, because when the oracle was sitting on this 3-legged object, she was able to interpret the deity's messages. So that's quite something that helps you to understand also the human soul better. When we talk about Tripod today, then we have 4 categories of services. First is recruitment, then organizational service, then the psychological test we will be talking about today, and also coaching and training. So actually a wide array of services. And I also put some logos of our partners here. We have partners from mainly big corporations, also governmental institutions, and very different sectors, from, like, say, aviation, banks, ministries, IT, production, and so on. And some numbers also, that last year, altogether 23,000 people were tested with our tests in Baltic states, and we had 2,045 active licensed users in the Baltics. And what we see as a trend is also that, in addition to managers and IT specialists and aviation, that also the frontline employee testing is raising in order to be able to find out which candidates are not suitable for the job faster. We also have counseling tests, which are being used for career counseling and psychological assessment in Estonian Unemployment Fund, and also by psychologists who are working with young people. Another question, how to assess the quality of a psychological test. So I would bring out just a few criteria. If you are interested, you can read more from these sources, from American Psychological Association and also International Test Commission. But the first criteria here is the theory. What is the test based on? So that, of course, anybody could create a questionnaire, but if we intend to measure some psychological reality, we also need a theory about what it is actually, what we are measuring. And of course, there's a long range of psychometric characteristics which have to be tested before we can say that the test actually works. Also the norms, because it's impossible to measure, let's say, mental ability directly. It's always relative to somebody, so that usually it's good if your test taker is being compared to your own national norm group, so that the Latvian people will be compared to Latvian people and Lithuanian to Lithuanian, and we also have separate norms for Lithuanian managers, then managers in Latvia and managers in Estonia. And the last, which is, I think, the most important for you as a practitioner, is that what we can actually predict based on this test result. How do we know that it really works? If, let's say, a candidate gets a high score, how can we be sure that this candidate will be successful? So again, research is needed to find out that kind of results. And we have also conducted our own research in Estonia. But also, as we are using very classical theories for the tests, there's really literally thousands of articles available. You can read about almost any kind of possession and the personality traits and mental abilities which are relevant to those. So the tests are best for predicting this not non-success, which means that if some results are low, we can be quite sure that there is a real risk that this candidate will fail. But if the scores are nice, this doesn't give us yet a guarantee 100% that this person will be successful. Now, just to talk about the tests we have, these are all original tests created by our professionals. We have them available in 5 languages, the 3 Baltic languages, and also Russian and English. Normed on national samples. The whole testing process is online, and you can administer the results also by yourself if you have the testing license. It's easy to compare test takers, and we also have the free help desk service available every working day. So we have 6 basic tests at the moment available, which we offer. 2 are for measuring personality tests, 2 for mental ability, and then 1 for visual speed and precision, if the person has to deal with numbers and documents and has to be very precise. And spatial ability, which is mainly to discover potential for IT and programming and technology sector. So this has been used extensively, for example, by the Estonian government also, and there has been a big project where people could to study to become software developments on junior level. So this test has been extensively used to understand which people are able to pass this program, and it has been working very exactly. So precisely. Okay, but why shall we use tests at all when we are doing recruitment or also analyzing our team? I will give you some arguments which come from, again, from the American Psychological Association, and there's a special chapter, which is Society for Industrial and Organizational Psychology. First of all, that testing leads to savings in the decision-making process. This may seem counterintuitive because in the first place you have to pay for the test, but actually as it helps you to prevent a wrong decision, it will actually really save you hundreds and thousands of euros, as the cost of a wrong decision is very, very high. Also, the tests are helpful if the job requires attributes that are hard to develop or change. For example, one of them is mental ability, where every person has some limit, which is actually where they stop. They just can't jump higher. And we, with the test, we try to understand where this limit is. Is it here, here, or here? And it is hard to develop. I don't want to say that it's impossible, but it doesn't happen fast. So also there are some characteristics which are not easy to measure with any other method. Again, this mental ability is a good example because we can draw this information, for example, from an interview. Individuals are treated consistently, which means that you will get reports which are numerical and you are able to compare specific numbers. Also, the procedure of testing is exactly the same for every participant. Again, compared to an interview, which tends to be a different experience, both for the candidate and the interviewer. And if there are too many, or not too many, but many applicants, it's a pass method to screen out those who will not be eligible. Okay, I'll skip this one because this is the opposite of the last one. But actually, yeah, you may think it's costly, but actually it saves you money. Of course, practical constraints. If you do not have, let's say, enough time and money to invest into, let's say, good testing equipment and having a proper room where people can focus, then that can be a constraint. But if we think about selection methods in general, then testing is just one method among others. And there's a very good meta-analysis which was recently published. And this speaks about the validity and utility of selection methods. As you see from the headline, that these are the practical and theoretical implications of 100 years of research findings. So this meta-analysis took together hundreds of studies which were conducted over 100 years to find out if we use a single method, then how big is this probability that we will get a person whose work performance is high. But in this article, it's even, let's say, developed further. There's not just a single method, but there is also a combination of methods which was brought out. And maybe for some of you, this is not any kind of a surprise, but the single method that has the greatest, the highest operational validity is GMA, which means the General Mental Ability Test. So that's, let's say, an axiom. We can say that if you want to use only one method for assessing your candidates, then use the mental ability test because it gives you the highest probability of making the right choice about this employee. Of course, when we look at this table, we have the second column here, this multiple regression, which shows what is this correlation between the method and work performance. When you combine two methods, one is always mental ability test and the other is now what you can see in this first column. So, for example, you see integrity tests also have a very high correlation together with the GMA. But this is something that we do not offer from Tripod, and I do not know of any valid integrity tests also available in the Estonian market. But the third and fourth are both interviews, and I think it can be very good news for you if you are not using the structured interview, which has been traditionally considered to be more valid. Because here you can see that if you combine an interview with a mental ability test, then the overall correlation with the work performance is also rather high. So I think this is one point to remember from this presentation, that first of all, always use more than one method, but always pick stronger methods and combine those stronger ones so that, for example, this interview and mental ability test is quite a strong combination already. Now, if we talk about the personality traits, then it's much more complicated to assess the impact of personality test, because there we won't have a single trait like we have single mental ability, but we have a combination of traits again. And the highest, the one with the highest predictive validity is conscientiousness, which shows how determined the person is, how structured, how systemical, how motivated, and so on. So it's very logical, of course, that if the person is hardworking, then the results are good, very easy. But also from this extensive research, we can see that this conscientiousness alone gives a correlation of 0.22. And together with mental ability, already 0.7. So again, a lesson to learn, if you combine more tests, but not just whatever tests, but some valid tests, and interview, this probability of a good decision will be again higher. And there's another page. There are more methods which actually together with this mental ability, they won't give an extra value because this correlation is the same, it's 0.65. But it's still interesting to see that if we look at these methods individually, they will give different value. For example, peer ratings, when we take them individually, and of course you need to check this, it's freely available, you can download this article for yourself. When you use this method, it also gives you already quite a high indication, but it doesn't give an extra value together with the mental ability. And maybe it's good to know that there are methods that do not show absolutely anything, and one of these is age. I think it's not quite widespread knowledge. There are still issues with discrimination, but actually it has exactly zero correlation with their work performance. So I think there's a lot to gain from this article. I hope you will read it and delve deeply into the details. Okay, but just to conclude, we can say that the best single predictor of work performance is mental ability, and combining several methods will give you a better result, but several strong methods. And the personality traits, what do they give? So they will describe you the person's stress tolerance, communication style, results orientation, adaptability, and so on. So their prediction validity is not so high as for mental ability, but they will give an extra value to that combination. I'll skip this one, or actually very fast, that personality and mental abilities are considered to be the basic traits, because much of it is determined genetically, but also a big deal by the environment. But it's much easier to change the skills or knowledge of a person, but not personality and mental abilities. So that's the very reason why we recommend to measure this before you recruit someone. And to give you an example, what does a test look like? Then here we have this Speak 5 model. I won't describe this in detail today, but I just gave you some sample items here that we are using in a test. Like, I believe that most people are in fact good, and responding is on 5-point Likert scale. I keep my personal belongings clean and organized, but also like inverse items, like I often feel uneasy and tense, or at the meetings I usually do not take the floor. So we'll have almost 200 items in a test, and it will give you an indication of these basic 5 traits together with subscales. And in the mental ability scale, I also brought some examples. Classically, there are 3 or 4 subscales in a mental ability test. For example, you will have numerical tasks, like you see here. Like I think we've all been solving that kind of task at school, so that you have to somehow derive the right answer. Verbal, here you see there's a well-known saying, but here you can see also that even, let's say, when you are very good at English, but you do not know the proverbs, then you will receive a lower score in this ability scale. So that's why it's important to always take the test in your mother tongue, if possible, and always compare also to the national norm, not some American norm or British norm. And the third one here is about logical reasoning, so that what would happen in a row, what would be the next figure. And how do these test reports look like? I will show you a few examples. So I will open a new window for you in just a moment. just to give you some idea. So that we have usually 3 different forms of test reports. One is meant for the candidate, and this one has lots of explanations and also the score that they received in the test. So this is a rather long report, and in the end there will also be a conclusion where you will have then all 5 scales on the same page together with the scores, and you can also see how they use the time and how they answered. So that's one kind of a form. Then another form, which we call a professional form, is shorter because when you have passed the training, you do not need the explanations every time, but you rather need these scores. And here you can also see whether the test taker confirmed that they are going to answer in an honest way. Yeah, I've seen also some people, they say that, no, I'm not going to be honest. For some reason, they want to hide something. They don't feel good about opening themselves up. So this is what we use to get more sincere answers. And there's also some extra figures where you can see the combination of different traits and description that comes from this combination. So that's the second form of a report. And now the third form is when you have several candidates in your process, and you can have their results displayed on one report. So it's very easy to put together these reports. It just takes seconds, and you can also translate these reports into other 5 languages. So this is where you can easily compare how the results were differing. So this is for, I think, my introduction. And let's go on with the presentations. So this was the theory and this was what we offered, but actually, how does it work? So please, the first presenter would be Sandra Zelča from Latvia, Jeld-Wen. And I will, yes, please, Sandra, the stage is yours.
Yes. Hello. Thank you for inviting me to this opportunity to share with you my experience. 10 minutes is a really short time, but I will really try to name the main learnings or the main process what we have here in Latvia. So I will start sharing my screen. And please let me know if you see it. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
I'm trying to make this in presentation mode and this so is it okay? You see the whole slide on your screens?
Yes, it's fine.
It's fine, okay. So I'm Sandra Zelča and I'm HR business partner for company Jeld-Wen or Jeld-Wen. That is a worldwide company operating in all over the world. And in Latvia, we have 3 production sites. Sorry, if I'm continuing with the worldwide organization. So we are US owned company with over 20,000 employees all around, and $3.6 billion revenue. So it is worldwide big company. We are producer of doors and windows. And as regards to Europe, so Latvia is one part of European organization. And in Latvia, we have 3 production sites. So 3 production sites in Latvia with 550 employees. And I yesterday just counted roughly that 15% of these employees are white collar or work in offices in administration, and 85% of employees are blue collar employees, so work in production in the shop floor. We use tripod tests since 2015, so it is already for 5 years. And we use them for recruiting candidates for white-collar positions. And we use the tests in external and internal recruitment projects. We use 2 kinds of tests offered by Tripod. For managerial positions, we use manager personal inventory and manager mental ability scale tests. And for specialist level positions, we use also similarly personal inventory and mental ability scale. In addition to these tests offered by Tripod, we rather intensively in the company use DISC personality tests. I don't know how many of participants in this forum use DISC, but just to give you a hint, what is this DISC? So D, characterizing a candidate's dominance, I, influence or inspiration, S, steadiness, and C, conscientiousness. And very often we look at these tests together. We look in DISC and we look in Tripod test results, and we see some correlations. And if we don't see, then we start dialogue about this and try to understand the candidate's, let's say, profile and potential behavior or reactions. When we talk about recruitment projects, we have several steps. So we start with first round interviews. We make selection of candidates that we would like to move ahead. Then the next step is Tripod testing, mentioned here. Then after Tripod testing, it is second round interview, and after second round interview, then we make decision about job offers. And some more things I would like to mention here. Our candidates, we ask them or we offer them to take tests remotely. One reason is this current situation with COVID. We are in the company, we have really high guidelines for reducing any kind of risk regarding COVID. So we do not invite visitors and we do not invite guests or candidates if it is not needed, and we can work in distance. So candidates take tests remotely. I always try to give very clear instructions over the phone, what he should do, and it is really important for mental ability scale, where the instruction is to find a calm place, a quiet place with no interruptions, with good internet connection. And then the fourth point here is then I'm checking, or after the test, I ask if the candidate had the right environment for test taking. Because we had one a bit funny example. that candidate, I got really, really low test results in mental ability scale. And I carefully asked what happened because results are really poor. And he said, oh, I took test in my mobile phone and actually I was in countryside and it was really no normal internet connection. And then we agreed that he is doing the test one more time. When it is possible, we ensure that in distance, the candidate switches on camera or screen, and we can kind of be present even in distance. But there are some cases without camera and without this screen sharing. And in this example, one person was doing a test on his mobile phone with poor internet connection. Unfortunately, it was the case without this in distance, but still in presence through internet. And then the last point, when we discuss test results with candidates, it definitely gives us additional information about the person. And for example, if the person, there are sometimes people who remember the tests a long time after, and they still are asking, oh, it was so difficult and I was so frustrated that I didn't do 100%, just 60%. It also gives to us information about him that yes, maybe he is perfectionist and he didn't like at all that he did not do 100%, and he is still concerned about this past event, even if he is hired afterwards. And maybe another thing or example I remember, if a person is very high in conscientiousness, very structured, very patient, and in the same time it means he might be less stress resistant and not so fast as maybe others, then this mental ability test results can be lower. Not because he is not so bright, but because he needs more time rather than tripod test time limit is allowing to him. And this additional stress about time limits, about that somebody is watching him in camera, it puts additional stress, and test results sometimes are lower than in normal or less stressful environment. So actually, I ran through my slides. I told, I think, everything I wanted. Maybe you have some questions or comments on my presentation.
Yes, Sandra, thank you so much. And I also invite you, the panel, the attendees, to share your thoughts either in the chat or the Q&A. Thank you so much for such a practical view, and also that you've been noticing not only the test results but also the behavior during this testing and also afterwards. So you've been taking even more than only the test result. But yes, please, questions to Sandra. And also, if not questions, then also impressions, so that Sandra would know also what did you learn from that, or what did you get out of that, so that I would be really, really happy if you would just share one thought or even a keyword in the chat for the feedback. So what was interesting for you, what was new for you, what was maybe you want to argue. And also I know that Joy was raising hand, but please, Joy, also put your question to chat or this Q&A. So there's from Naringa. Hello, were there many times where you hired the candidates with below average score? Thanks.
In most cases, we hired candidates with average scores, because the most candidates have average scores. So, and in our recruitments, we offer jobs with candidates mainly with average scores. There are, I don't know, 20% maybe really successful stories when the candidates have very, very high results, as I showed you in example. So I would say 20% about possibility to recruit such kind of candidates. And I would say, no, we do not hire candidates with below average results often. I remember 2 cases. As I said, we needed quite narrow specialists. We did not have a lot of applicants, and we had to choose from the pool we have. And in these 2 cases, these 2 people are good at standard tasks, but it's not often we recruit with below average results.
Okay, so thank you so much. We have 1 more minute to add comments, and for Sandra, I think, there's 1 more question, but that's the last one, but please give your feedback as well. Have you had experience when a person with higher results did not perform as was expected from the results?
Yes. So, I already remember 1 young guy, very ambitious, very bright, very high results, but the attitude was bad. I remember he started, and even during trial, he was starting to play something with Bitcoins on the screen. So good test results, bright candidate, high ambitions, but for some reasons, maybe low motivation, maybe realize that it is not a job for him. Maybe he had some other ambitions and visions. And because of attitude, we agreed to that he's leaving company. But the test results were great.
Okay, so thank you. And there was 1 more question, but we need to move on. But let's do it like this, that we will forward your questions to the panelists, and we can send you the results, the answers also, so that every question will be answered. Now, thank you so much, and let's move on. The next presenter will be Kaspars Kotāns from CV Online. And yes, please, the stage is yours.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kaspars. Maybe I will try to connect with my presentation. Yeah, hope everyone could see it. So a couple words about myself. I'm representing company CV Online. I'm a head of recruitment department, quite big experience in recruitment and career consultation. And we are using at our company tripod tests. In our case, it's mean like we are more like recruiting agency. So our recruiting projects where we are using tests are for our clients in our customers' projects. So I think everyone knows CV Online because it's a popular brand in all 3 Baltic countries. Maybe in Latvia, people know us more better, so we are leading like a CV.lv, like a portal. We have one another portal, job portal for low and middle level positions, visi.lv. We have CV Online Recruitment as a recruiting agency, and for example, me, I'm representing CV Online Recruitment. We have a biggest salary database, alg.lv, like salary.lv, and we are taking part in some events, yeah, like most popular and widest ranking list of best employer in Latvia, yeah. And CV Online is a part of Alma Career, which is a part of Alma Media, one of the biggest Finnish media companies, and I think everyone who are working in a recruiting area knows about the Monster worldwide. Yeah, so we are a part of that too. Our services is online recruitment assessment consultations, and HR marketing. Yeah, so I will not take a longer time for that. Yeah, it's information what you could find and see. Yeah, so just like an introduction about that. On a daily basis, like recruiting agencies, all things that's with recruiting processes, yeah, with consultation processes with our clients, starting from assisting positions till country manager positions or board members for some of our clients. Yeah, so a couple of words about recruitment and tests. I think about the situation in recruitment and the recruitment challenges is similar in all three Baltic countries. Yeah, so what we see as our challenges, so it's vacancies with specific requirements and clients' flexibility to this candidate's profiles. Yeah. Are they ready to change something? Because the first picture could be like that we need half of God, but we are not to pay like the right price. Yeah, and sometimes it's some misunderstanding. Yeah, so it's always question about these flexibilities and possibilities in a company side too. Yeah, what we see current moment. Yeah, after. Pandemic starting, it's maybe not for all positions, but in some part of them is a high candidate activity. So you are taking a longer time to screen them, to go through the potential candidates CVs. But in the final, the number of suitable candidates is not high, yeah? So it's not correlation, high number of candidates and good result of suitable candidates, yeah. So then it's always question about, if we talk about as a recruiting agency, clients' possibilities to choose that or that services, yeah, what include like some recruiting, just screening, interviews, recruitment, assessment, the tests with case studies and other things. Yeah, what is not easy or what take quite long time, it's a longer decision-making period. Yeah. And the result could be some candidates can't wait. They have several offers from the companies, yeah, and you could lose some right candidate because a longer period for decision. And what is the last period challenge is to adapt remote interviews and evaluate candidates as in a face-to-face meeting, yeah, to see like to use screen, but of course the best way is if you see it like a near to your face. And it goes together, I think, with the tests too. Yeah, for example, I will speak a little bit in later in some of my presentation part. But if we talk about, for example, personality in the inventory, of course, there it's easier to work in like in remote way. But if we talk about this mental ability or, for example, visual speed tests, yeah, of course, I think the best way and the right way is if candidates comes to your office and to fill the test there. So what we are using or what we are choosing in our or in our clients' projects. Yeah, for managerial positions, we use usually 2 tests, or not always, but it could be like a personality inventory for managers and this manager's mental ability scale. Yeah, for various positions, if it's more like a specialist level, we are using this personal inventory for specialists. Yeah, and it's a wide possibilities to use such test. For if you need to find to see some specific knowledge, it's a more, I don't know, like a verbal, how the persons use you use some verbal skills or mathematical or spatial. Yeah, so it's a more like a specialist mental ability scale for finance, sales, technical, customer service, or others positions. Yeah, and if we need to see the candidates, how accurate is it, or this visual speed, how fast the person works with some information, yeah, like administrative, client service, customer care positions. Yeah, it's a visual speed and accuracy test. What we see as a benefits in this process, yeah, for example, for specialist managers personality and inventory, yeah, these tests for us give like a more confirmation to information what we receive in interview. Yeah, so we are, I think Sandra mentioned it, like at first is a conversation, and test usually goes as a second round information. Yeah, so we are doing like the same way. Yeah, at first is an interview, and if we need to get some confirmation, yeah, I think it's this personality inventory is a very good tool for that. Plus some extra information, because we are not always asked everything, yeah, or candidates maybe not answer in every question that you asked. Yeah, so there we could get some extra information from the test. If you talk about this visual speed and accuracy test, of course, it's a more concrete, yeah. So there you could understand how candidate processes data, her speed, for example, working in some information, some data, yeah. And there you could get very good information from that, yeah. And the same way with, for example, with mental ability scale. Again, if you need some more specific information, how person use that or that parts, yeah. If it's necessary in your work, for example, in the work of this candidate, yeah. So we are using this specialist manager's mental ability scale, yeah. And what we could say before we tried by ourselves, for example, this mental ability scales, and of course, you see, it's not like easy. Yes, it's if candidate shows a good result, yeah. So you could put like, okay, it's quite good in that way, yeah. Yeah, when I think about some example, it was one example from, I don't know, 1 month, maybe 2 months ago. We had a project. It's a shared service company. It's more like a IT support there, and they needed the new employees for their Norwegian language support. Yeah, but of course in Latvia, and I think in similar in Lithuania and Estonia, the same. It's quite impossible to find persons who are ready to work in a customer support, and they have this Norwegian language in at least B2 level. Yeah, so company so that they will teach this language to their new employees. Yeah, so they need just English, and of course they need some skills that they could do such work. Yeah, so at first was a conversation with all more or less suitable candidates. After that, we use mental ability test, and candidates who pass this test, at least with the average result, yeah, later they performed very good in a company. And I know that we helped the company to find 14 people who started to work, to study in this Norwegian language academy, and after some period when they have quite good language skills, as they start to work at all like a customer support specialist to Norwegian market. Yeah, so from 14 people, only 2 left the company, but it was the situation why they leave the company. It was a personality things. Yeah, so not that they can't to do such work. Yeah, so in our case, this mental ability test shows a very good result. Yeah, and maybe some lessons what we see when we are using tests for a work. Yeah, so, and I always say to my clients, for example, if they use tests through us, and we are a company who are giving candidates the tests, or if they use a test by themselves, it's always an additional material. Yeah, so please don't watch on a test as a miracle stick or something that there you have the only one right answer. Yeah? It's always like an extra material what could help you to make decisions, and not always average result or highest result will be suitable candidates. Yeah, you need to think by yourself. If we talk about this mental ability, skate, visual speed test, they are more, of course, specific, but I think Sandra said the same in her presentation. That is very important that candidates has these possibilities that no one distributes them. Yeah, and of course it's how they feel, and that if the person, I don't know, for example, feel ill or didn't sleep well last night, of course it goes to results. Yeah, and it's not always for these both tests. Yeah, but for example, this personality inventory is the same. Yeah, if you have a bad period of your life, your result will be different as if you feel lucky and happy at that moment. Yeah, and of course the last one maybe is the explanation of tests results are must. Yeah, not only for your clients, for example, for our customers, but for, I don't know, for some department managers or whatever, but of course for candidates is the same, So, thank you.
So So thank you very much, Kaspars, and especially for the lessons and also this positive example. We have 1 to 2 minutes for 1 to 2 questions and also feedback for Kaspars. So please, you are welcome to write in the chat. What were your ideas? What were your feedback? Any questions to Kaspars? So this was different because as the recruitment company, usually they do not know how these candidates are performing like the years after the recruitment process. So Sandra could also tell us what happened half a years later.
We have, for example, we are contacting with our clients, and always we have, for example, in full recruitment projects, we have this guarantee what we are giving to companies for 3 months. Yeah, so plus or minus, we have information how they perform. Yeah, later, yeah, and of course we are contacting with the candidates after that, yeah, how they feel it, if everything is fine, yeah, like from both sides, yeah.
Yes, but then thank you very much, Kaspars, and the participants, you can still give feedback, but now we will move on to the last presenter, and that is Rimgailė, Butkuvienė from Lithuania, and now we will have a different talk because that is going to be tests beyond recruitment. So where else can you use the tests, and let's hear about their experience. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Liisa, and good morning, still morning, everyone. I will share my slides, and hopefully you will be able to see it well. A little bit about who we are. I'm from People Inc. and basically we are a personnel search and selection company. But for many years we've been offering quite a wide range of consulting services such as personnel assessment or organizational surveys. And for these two parts, we're actually partnering up with Tripod. So for the assessment part, we are using their psychological tests and the wide range that they can offer, from simple specialist tests to spatial abilities test, visual speed and precision, and of course managers. And we're partnering as well for organizational surveys. So, well, we are really happy that we have been the official representative of Tripod in Lithuania for, I believe it's nearly 5 years already. My colleagues from Latvia shared their experience mostly from the recruitment perspective, and I would like to share to add our insights about where to use tests in different topics. So once you start using psychological tests for personnel selection, you can actually use the same material, the same information in the whole employee life cycle in an organization. Placement, adaptation, development, career counseling, team building, problem solving, and outplacement. Well, of course, I believe you know that you can never fire, let go a person because of his psychological test results. But if you want to make your employer brand better, to help the person find new career opportunities easier, well, then you can offer the outplacement service. And here we suggest that a person would fill in at least the personality profile to understand himself better and choose the next opportunity better fitted to his personality. So today I will share about our experience and give some examples how to use tests in problem solving, adaptation, or influencing employees, and team building. To start with, I will share a couple of stories about problem solving. sometimes managers reach out to us with some kind of difficulties with employees. Usually in those cases, we are offering a package of a general mental ability test, personality test, and the feedback session / interview with the employee. And afterwards, we give the consultation for the manager and help make decisions. The first example that I want to share was when the manager contacted us and said that the employee is really well fitted based on the organizational culture, and every team member really likes this employee, but the results of the performance is quite poor. What we did this mental ability test, once again personality, and the interview, and what we found was that the mental ability part was rather low. And the position required for a person to learn really quickly, make decisions independently, and basically solve very different situations every day based on numerical and verbal information, such as finance and accounting and different contracts with companies. So what we found was that for this person, those tasks were just a little bit too difficult. And after the interview with the person, we found out that actually this causes even more stress for the employee, and he gets disorganized, feels anxious. So the results are even worse than could be. So what we did in this situation, we actually found the strong suit of the employee, and we understood that this person is really creative, really imaginative, and the manager was able to find a new position, a new role for this person, so that he would be able to stay in the company. But for the original role, found a person who just fitted better. The second example would be about, once again, problem solving. Manager reached out to us because of miscommunication with an employee and bad performance. After discussions with the employee, we found out that this person is rather introverted and very conscientious, which means he really wants to have a plan and to know all the rules while he's working. After discussions with the person, we consulted the manager and gave only a couple of advice, such as please delegate tasks for this employee via email or some written information, and try to avoid delegating once on the go in between things. And actually we reached out to the manager in a couple of months, 2 or 3 months period, and what we found that their communication got better, the employee felt better, and the results, they got better as well. The second option the second option, where you can also use the information from the test, and what we do with our clients, we give advice on how to better adapt a person, and even how to be more influential on these people. So starting from the general mental ability part, if a person is rather slow and needs more time to learn, the advice would be to introduce new difficult new tasks and new topics point by point. Just not give the information overload, because a person might get stressed. It would take even more time. So try to introduce and adapt the person with a slow pace. On the other hand, if a person has really high general mental ability scores and is really fast, then we would give an advice to the manager to prepare yourself a plan. What will you do if this employee, if this candidate reaches the very good performance level quite fast? Because especially now, when we have junior candidates that quite easily get to the point where they think that they already learned everything and that they cannot get anything from the company anymore, and are willing to change jobs in half a year or a year, it is really important to have a plan how to keep this person challenged in his job. So I will continue with some advice on how to better adapt or influence a person based on their personality profile. Of course, once we have this full profile and a real case, a real person, we are looking at different combinations of the scales and subscales. We do very deep analysis, but for today, only simple examples based on this big 5 aspects. So if you have a very open to experienced person, the explorer type of person, it would be really good to let them innovate, because usually these type of candidates, new employees, have a lot of ideas and innovations to offer. What could be changed, how to optimize some processes, or so on. So be open to those ideas, think about the practical sides of those ideas, and let them maybe even implement those changes if you see them fit. On the other hand, if you have a preserver, if you have a person who doesn't really feel comfortable with change, it is important to understand that changing jobs is very difficult for a person. And in this period of adaptation, try to understand the person, feel empathetic, and try to present everything from the practical sides of view. Next, a little bit about conscientiousness. If we have a very flexible person who is spontaneous, which means low conscientiousness, it is important for the manager to have daily checkups. Well, daily, weekly, monthly, maybe depending on the position and experience of the candidate, just to make sure that this person does not float out of the long-term goals. Because for a flexible person, it is quite easy to get disturbed by different tasks, different topics. So these checkups might be very good for the manager and for the employee as well. On the other hand, if you have a very focused person, like in my previous example from problem-solving perspective, make sure that you are sticking to the plan as much as possible, introducing changes of the plan in advance, and try to respect the person's need for rules. Actually, if we're talking about adaptation specifically, it is really good to have your plan of adaptation process prepared and presented to this new employee at the start. So that way he would feel comfortable that he's knowing what's going to happen, that there is a plan, and that the company will be sticking to that plan. Well, of course, extroversion is probably the best known traits, and these constructs are best known for most of the people. So if you have an introvert, try to make sure that his adaptation process includes more written information, such as email or letters, written documentation, and less live contact. Less live contact with a lot of team members at the start. On the other pole, we have extroverted candidates. So they're the best way to give them the adaptation process is to introduce a lot of colleagues, stakeholders, have more communicational activities where a person could be more active. Okay, so I think I'm getting some information in the chat, so just a second. Is everything okay?
Yeah, you can go on with the presentation.
Great. So a little bit about the agreeableness. If we have a challenger, you can influence this person with low agreeableness more, while emphasizing the gain that they will get from some activity. On the other hand, if you have an adapter, a person with a high agreeableness, you could emphasize the value that his role, his position would create for others. And finally, the fifth trait, we have this emotional stability aspect. So if you have a very resilient person with high emotional stability, it is important to discuss critical aspects and give feedback in a very rational and logical way, because usually people with high emotional stability are not that prone to understanding others' emotions and reacting to emotional feedback. So logic and reasoning is very important here. And on the other hand, if we have this reactive person with lower emotional stability, it is important for the manager, especially during the adaptation period, to create a bond with this employee so that and to check up about the levels of stress that this person is feeling. As Sandra gave example about this lower than average result in emotional stability, sometimes you cannot see that the person is really stressed or really tense, and especially if they're more introverted. So it is important for the manager to understand what is the situation, to check up on the employee, because there might be some risk of burnout. And finally, I will introduce one of my favorite type of projects, the team matrix. What we do here is we give personality tests for every team member, and we map their results out. Of course, they get individual feedback about their results and how they correspond with their daily tasks. But then we can do actually a lot of activities with this information. So this team matrix might be used for team formation tasks. For example, understand what traits are missing from your team to be universal to reach better team performance. You could also understand the dynamics of the team better and solve various problems. So here we have an example team of 5 people, and we have their scores. What we usually do is after we give this individual feedback for every team member, we are giving the discussion, the presentation and discussion part for the whole team. Usually the results are confidential, which means that they only see a symbol or representation of different scores on the matrix based on the results. But for example, for the manager, we can give a more detailed aspects where instead of a simple circle, there are initials of an employee or some kind of other marking, so that we could see the interactions between different people better. And getting back to the discussion with the team, we present what kind of behavior and what kind of traits different results represent, and how that might affect their work and their communication, contribution, and other aspects of teamwork. So, for example, where we have this extraversion scale, we can see that that we have one team member who has lower extroversion and two team members who have high extroversion. We can understand that there might be a problem, that those extroverted persons might not understand this person's need to be a little bit alone, to have less distractions, less active communication, to talk more, discuss things via email or something like that. And on the other aspect, the person with lower extroversion might not understand this. These colleagues need to be active, need to participate actively in this discussion and communication. So what kind of advice we can give here for the managers? For example, if you have a topic that you want to analyze during a team meeting, please let the lower extroversion person know in advance and to prepare in advance, because for them to speak spontaneously in a meeting or a presentation might be a little bit difficult. So he might want to prepare in advance. And one more example from the team matrix that I think would illustrate that it is important to look not only to the big five profile, but to the subscales, as well. So we have here a real case, and we can see that quite a lot of team members have a higher openness to experience, which means that they are creative, they're innovative, trying to find solutions how to improve their work, adaptable to different situations, and are very imaginative based on the idea subscale. So where we can see the biggest difference is here, this person with a little bit lower openness to experience and rather low ideas result. So how the meetings look from this team perspective? Usually there are a lot of discussions, a lot of theoretical aspects, and the meetings run really long because the team really likes to theorize about everything. And this one person is usually getting frustrated because for him it is really important to be practical about things. He does not like discussions that don't go to the practical solutions. So what we did in this case, we gave the option for this part of the team to have creative meetings where they would discuss. And we enabled this person to be the one who would take those ideas and initiatives on a practical level and find solutions for the organization from the practical side of these aspects. Of course, if we would want to have a stronger team, it would be really nice to have additional team members who would also be more about practical solutions as well. So thank you for your attention. I will stop my presentation, and I will be waiting for your questions.
Yes, so thank you so much, Rimgailė. It was really practical, and I'm sorry for the time, but who can yet attend, please, if you have questions to Rimgailė, then 1 to 2, and if you have more, then I can send you later the answers. Okay, even if not questions right here and now, then please some feedback for Rimgailė to the chat, and I will say the very last words in a second. So before we go apart, if you want to use triple tests as well, then either you can use the assessment service or use testing independently. Here, I will send you the materials. You can read everything again, like the prices and the dates. But the next English test training will take place via Zoom and in October and November. So if you want, you can join. Then just write to me. Yeah, and I will send you the recording of today's webinar together with the slides, and I'll be waiting for those who want to join the training, or if you just want to use the test for one assessment, then you can contact us and we can offer the assessment service. So thank you so much for being with us today, and I hope to meet you again, maybe at the next seminar or some other nice place. And also thank you so much all the panelists. I really enjoyed the presentations today.